My research question is, what guidelines are available for implementing and maintaining authentic-based curriculum and assessment at the secondary level in an English classroom? I've had to adjust this a little bit as I go along, and I imagine I'm still going to have to adjust it more as I look for more research that kind of fits with this topic. I believe authentic learning and assessment is important throughout a school, but also in an English classroom. First off, I think it motivates kids. I think it motivates them to perform at a higher level. Instead of just comprehending what they're reading and writing out facts and repeating things that they've heard or read, I think they have to analyze and synthesize a little bit more. And you can work in some themes that help them kind of grow as human beings as well. Also, authentic assessment prepares kids for real-world tasks. It's no longer just what they're going to do in school. It might apply to when they go to college, but it also applies to whatever job they might have in the future. And I think they need to see that connection. Also, English class, I think, at a middle school and high school level, has kind of become a reading class, and teachers need to implement authentic reading strategies that apply to the kids outside of the classroom. When they encounter things at the job that they have in the future or with their parents, they should have something to say about it. They know how to bring together ideas and can actually discuss those things. And I think authentic instruction and assessment helps prepare these kids for those things. Also, in the end, I think English teachers, probably all teachers, are left to their own devices for implementing authentic instruction and assessment, and I'd like to compile some guidelines and suggestions for people to use as they move forward with that. I have many personal connections to these issues. In English, every day I see kids who come in and they're unmotivated. They don't see connection between courses. There's not a theme that runs throughout the building that allows them to kind of connect and apply things to their own lives. I think authentic learning and assessment could help accomplish that. Also, it incorporates the kids' emotions and teacher emotions and just human emotions into whatever it is we're covering. When we talk about fictional characters, kids can relate to it because they've gone through similar things. They can also explore both of these things through reading and writing and discussions in the classroom. And in those instances, it promotes higher order thinking skills, which for many of these kids, they're just developing, and they need those things modeled and practiced in a safe environment. And when we're doing these things, it's much more enjoyable to teach. I think if a school-wide program went into effect, the total environment of my school would change, and I would love to see that happen. As for the research that I've done so far, I've read 5 articles, 3 of which I've found will apply to the paper that I want to write, 2 of which really did not apply because they didn't specifically address English classrooms. They did talk about authentic learning, but there was little research involved. And so far, most of my articles on authentic learning assessment do not specifically address English classrooms. There's not a lot of research out there, except for one, which I'll talk about in a minute. And it's been hard, and I've had to stretch my research question quite a bit. And I'm looking more to find these general guidelines that I can synthesize and apply to an English classroom, more so than finding the actual research online and reading them. I have contacted one old professor who is an English and an education professor that I'm hoping to get some resources from. What I found so far is there's many anecdotal or autobiographical narratives which I think are useful but not necessarily research-based. Many English teachers who say, they found authentic assessment and learning to be valuable, kids are more motivated, but there's not a lot of research behind it. There are guidelines for selecting authentic texts, which is the thing that I found exciting and kind of new for me, which I'll talk about at the end of this presentation. And then the one person, Betty Prius, who researched a school-wide authentic learning and assessment program in English classrooms, has become the most helpful so far, and I'm hoping to find more articles like that. As mentioned, the Prius article was the article that most directly related to English classrooms using authentic learning and assessment. And Prius looked closely at some of the projects that the kids used and the teachers' practices in the classroom, and she listed a number of great things which I intend to incorporate into my research and the final paper. She also looked at the different assessments that the English teachers used and how effective they were. So I found this article very helpful, and I've taken some of the sources that I'm looking at and intend to read before writing the paper. Overall, the research I found does not directly relate to English classrooms and authentic learning and assessments. There are some general guidelines and some studies done on secondary but in different classrooms, and also the elementary, but not specifically for English classrooms. My hope is to kind of synthesize all this information that's out there and kind of provide some guidelines and characteristics for an English classroom and how it can kind of connect to the school-wide environment to help students learn authentically and kind of see the value behind their education.